The laughter echoed across the bright afternoon ballroom, loud enough to make every conversation pause for a heartbeat. Hundreds of wealthy guests turned their heads toward the man standing quietly beside the catering entrance, holding the tiny hand of his little daughter while balancing a tray meant for someone else. His worn jacket couldn't hide the faded tattoo stretching across his forearm, and the billionaire who had just mocked him smiled with complete confidence, believing she had already judged everything about his life. But the moment her eyes focused on the unmistakable sniper insignia inked beneath the sleeve, the smile vanished from her face as though every memory she had buried for years had suddenly come rushing back. In that single instant, the richest woman in the room looked more frightened than the poorest man standing before her. Before we continue this unforgettable journey, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes kindness can change lives, and subscribe to Heartline Stories if you believe every person deserves a second chance, no matter where life has taken them. The man's name was Cairo Mercer, a devoted single father who had learned that survival often demanded more strength than victory itself. Every morning began before sunrise as he prepared breakfast, braided his 6-year-old daughter Nyla's curly hair with careful hands that had once assembled military equipment in darkness, and walked her to school before working 2 different jobs. During the day he cleaned office buildings, and in the evenings he accepted temporary catering shifts that paid barely enough to cover rent, groceries, and Nyla's asthma medication. Most people who passed him saw only an exhausted black father struggling to make ends meet. None of them saw the years of sacrifice hidden behind his calm eyes or the unbearable memories he carried in silence. The extravagant charity gala where fate changed everything was hosted inside one of the city's most luxurious hotels. Crystal chandeliers reflected golden light onto marble floors while famous entrepreneurs, celebrities, and politicians celebrated another successful year of business. At the center of every conversation stood Celine Ashcroft, one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the country. Brilliant, admired, and feared, she had built an empire through relentless discipline, but unimaginable success had slowly surrounded her with people who judged appearances before character. When she noticed Cairo standing near the service entrance with his daughter waiting patiently for his shift to end, she assumed they did not belong there. Her careless laughter and dismissive glance cut deeper than she could ever imagine. Cairo lowered his eyes, not because he felt ashamed, but because Nyla was watching. He had promised himself long ago that his daughter would never inherit his anger. Instead of responding, he gently adjusted her backpack and smiled at her with the warmth only a loving father could give. That quiet dignity confused many guests, but none more than Celine herself. Then, as Cairo reached for another serving tray, his jacket sleeve slipped upward. The old military tattoo became fully visible. It was not an ordinary design but the rare insignia of an elite sniper reconnaissance unit known only to a handful of veterans and military families. Celine's face lost all color. Years earlier, before becoming one of the world's most influential business leaders, Celine had been nothing more than a frightened university student trapped overseas during a violent hostage crisis. News channels had barely reported the rescue because it had been classified. She remembered only fragments of smoke, fear, and a mysterious sniper who had eliminated impossible threats without allowing innocent lives to be harmed. She never learned his identity. She only remembered the tattoo she had glimpsed while being evacuated to safety. The same tattoo now rested on the arm of the man she had just humiliated. The music continued inside the ballroom, but for Celine, the room became painfully silent. She watched Cairo kneel to tie Nyla's untied shoelace before quietly returning to work as though nothing had happened. There was no pride in his movements, no expectation of recognition, only quiet determination. She suddenly realized that true heroes rarely announced themselves. They simply continued carrying impossible burdens without asking for applause. As the evening unfolded, curiosity replaced arrogance. Celine discreetly asked an elderly retired general attending the gala about the tattoo. His expression became solemn. He explained that the insignia belonged to one of the most decorated sniper teams in modern military history, soldiers whose identities remained protected because many had risked everything during classified operations. He also mentioned that several members left the service carrying invisible wounds, receiving little public recognition despite sacrificing careers, health, and families. Cairo Mercer, he quietly admitted, had once been considered among the finest marksmen ever trained. The revelation shattered every assumption Celine had made. Wealth had taught her to evaluate balance sheets, resumes, and expensive appearances, but none of those measures could calculate courage. She searched for Cairo after the event ended and found him outside the hotel waiting for a city bus with Nyla asleep against his shoulder. The image was heartbreaking. One of the country's forgotten heroes stood beneath a flickering streetlight, patiently waiting for public transportation because life after service had taken everything except his love for his daughter. Over the following weeks, Celine could not stop thinking about that night. Instead of offering charity, she quietly investigated Cairo's history. She discovered a man who had repeatedly refused media attention, declined opportunities to profit from his military past, and devoted every available hour to raising Nyla after losing his wife to a sudden illness. Hospital bills had consumed their savings. His military pension barely covered necessities. Yet teachers described Nyla as one of the happiest and kindest children in school because her father never allowed hardship to steal her childhood. Rather than writing a check, Celine chose a different path. She invited Cairo to help redesign the security division of one of her international companies, believing his discipline, leadership, and crisis management experience deserved genuine respect rather than pity. At first he hesitated, convinced someone with his background would never fit into a corporate world filled with polished executives. But Celine insisted that integrity could never be taught in business schools, while Cairo had lived it every day. Months passed, and the transformation inspired everyone around them. Cairo's thoughtful leadership earned admiration across the company. Employees trusted him because he never treated anyone as beneath him. Janitors, receptionists, executives, and interns all received the same respect. Nyla finally moved into a warm home with her own bedroom, colorful bookshelves, and the security every child deserves. More importantly, she watched her father smile again without carrying the crushing weight of constant financial fear. Celine changed as well. She began funding employment programs for struggling veterans and single parents, realizing that opportunity often mattered far more than sympathy. Every decision reminded her of the afternoon she had mistaken worn clothes for weakness and quiet humility for failure. She understood that true wealth was not measured by billions in a bank account but by the lives one chose to uplift. Before we reach the end, please leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and share one act of kindness you've witnessed or experienced. Your story may inspire someone who desperately needs hope today. On the anniversary of that unforgettable gala, the company hosted another charity event. This time, Cairo stood on stage receiving an award for leadership, while Nyla proudly applauded from the front row. Celine watched from the audience, no longer as the woman who had laughed at a stranger, but as someone forever changed by the lesson he unknowingly taught her. She realized that scars often hide greatness, and the strongest people are usually the ones carrying the heaviest burdens without complaint. The sniper tattoo had revealed a forgotten soldier, but it was Cairo's unwavering love as a father that revealed the true hero. If this story touched your heart, reminded you never to judge someone by appearances, or inspired you to believe in kindness and second chances, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to Heartline Stories. Your support helps us continue sharing powerful stories that remind the world compassion is still stronger than prejudice. Sometimes the greatest heroes are not the ones standing in the spotlight, but the ones quietly holding a child's hand while carrying the invisible battles no one else can see.